I've learned through personal experience that living below your means, saving consistently, and investing slowly for the long run can lead to building wealth. It's not a matter of if, but when. However, one of the biggest dilemmas I faced is the temptation to flaunt my success. After years of living below my means, suddenly being able to afford a fancy new car or a huge home can be alluring. It's tempting to want to show the world how successful I've become. But I come to realize that continuing to practice frugality is key to maintaining and growing my wealth. Just because I could afford something doesn't mean that I should buy it. The number one reason why I believe in practicing this wealth strategy is that it has kept me grounded in reality. I've come to realize that money isn't everything in life, especially once my basic needs are met. Sure, there have been times when I've had some extra money in the bank and there's an urge to splurge, which was almost irresistible. I remember feeling this way after my wife and I finally paid our bills off. Even though we were far from having significant wealth, seeing those extra dollars in our account made us daydream about all these things we wanted and, we could do with them. Like my wife, I want more closets, a bigger house, etc. However, when I took a closer look at my motivations, I realized that it was just because of my natural inclination to want to be seen or show off to everyone, and we want them to acknowledge us as human beings. Or maybe if you got bullied before or no one believed in you, you'll have that fire to prove them wrong, and once you make it, you want to be like, hey bitches, I made it. But later on I realized that being seen by others wasn't worth sacrificing my financial stability and long-term goals. So I focused on building my net worth by investing in assets that increased in value over time. I remember hearing Warren Buffett's frugal lifestyle and it really inspired me. He is worth over $100 billion and yet he still lives in the same house he bought back in 1958 for just $31,500. That's unbelievable, because if someone with that kind of wealth can live modestly, then surely we can also. And that really brings up how I did it, because I lived in my house and I'm still here now for almost 20 years. And that's not really something that I focused on, having a large house. I tend to like other hobbies. Like Warren Buffett said, he has 35 jets and he's got a jet company, so he likes jets. So that's what he focuses money on and investing. The second reason why we should practice frugal wealth is a lot more practical. When we live a life of frugality, we pay less in taxes, and that makes a significant difference in our financial situation. But for instance, I used to have a fancy car payment, a crazy mortgage, and other memberships, and I can attest that it was challenging to manage those expenses. However, since I started practicing this wealth strategy, my cost of living has significantly reduced, and I can now require less income to maintain my lifestyle, and that translates in paying a lot less taxes. And living in America, I understand that we have a progressive tax system, which means that the more you earn, the more you pay in taxes. For a married couple filing jointly in 23, if your income is slightly over $200,000, you're in the 25% federal tax bracket, which means almost a quarter of your paycheck goes to the feds. And that's not even including payroll taxes like Medicare and Social Security and state income tax, depending on where you live. As we move up the income ladder, the tax rate goes higher, reaching up to almost 38% of our income. And I've seen friends and colleagues who earn up to over $300,000 a year, but end up paying tens of thousands of dollars in taxes because they feel the need to maintain an extravagant lifestyle. But if you come to realize that living below your means is the key to reducing your tax burden and achieving financial stability, and by maxing out all your tax deferred contributions and also investing in real estate, which I'm heavy in, with property depreciation, also starting a side business to deduct your expenses, you can dramatically reduce the amount of taxes that you pay. And the benefits of practicing living below your means go beyond just reducing taxes. It also gives you the flexibility to manage your finances and invest in assets that increase your net worth over time. That's why this number 3 reason, which is lower the expectations people have of you. Well, let me tell you, I've experienced this firsthand. Back in the days, I drove a car that was not too flashy. My Honda Civic had 280,000 miles. I drove it for 15 years, and I didn't care about designer stuff. So sometimes people tend to underestimate me or overlook me in social situations because I really don't dress well and I really don't care. And my wife makes fun of me for that. She's like, you always dress like a bum. I'm comfortable. I don't really care about it. But you know what? I actually find it quite liberating, because when you're not trying to impress anyone and live up to their expectations, you can just be yourself and you can do what you love without any external pressures. Just look at me. I might have millions. I own a couple of supercars, and that's what I like to spend my money on. I wear these Under Armour shirts that are comfortable because why not? That's what I like, and I want to be comfortable. I don't need to wear a Gucci or a Prada just to drive my cars around the lot, to be honest with you. But of course, some people might find it hard to accept that they're not seen as highly elevated or prestigious in the eyes of others. But for me, I don't give a crap, and it's never been a concern. I've always been content with who I am and what I have, and I don't need to really get validation from others to feel good about myself. In fact, I think it's better to be underestimated than overestimated, something like Rocky. That's why it's one of my favorite movies. And when people have low expectations of you, you have more room to surprise them to exceed their expectations. I highly doubt famous people like Tom Cruise or Robert Downey Jr. can do that. Maybe not to be able to achieve certain things despite their fame and fortune, but many prodigies fail up to live to these expectations, as noted by Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers. The author cites a study of Nobel Prize winners which suggests that IQ is only important up to a certain threshold for life success. Even scientists with a lower IQ can achieve the same level of success as those with a higher IQ. When people live a life in the public eye, others often have a higher expectation of them, assuming they have a lot of money and success. However, this is not always the case, and the pressure to maintain a certain image can be overwhelming. So when it comes to spending money, it's common for people to have certain expectations, like paying more for things or donating more to fundraisers. However, it's important to remember that those who flaunt their wealth may not actually have much of it. In fact, some of the wealthiest people might look the part, but for instance, like the movie Forrest Gump, the main character is often assumed to be a loser with no job and no prospects due to his appearance. Yet in reality, he's a multimillionaire, war hero, and a champion ping pong player. What's even more remarkable is that Forrest doesn't even seem to care about his appearance at all. He enjoys the freedom to do whatever he wants with his life, and that's the true definition of wealth. No one bothers him because he doesn't look like he's worth anything, and he's perfectly content with that. Fourth, practicing frugal wealth allows you to focus on what truly matters in life by avoiding the distractions of consistently seeking out new trinkets and toys, the latest gadgets, and fancy club memberships. You can free yourself from all that mental burden of always wanting more. When you succumb to the cultural pressure to constantly upgrade and acquire, to get the best iPhone, the newest Jordans, it becomes difficult to shake off this mindset. We may be tempted to test drive the latest car model or drop by the mall to check out what's on sale, but these actions only add up more stress and distraction to our lives. Instead, living below your means encourages us to be content with what we have to avoid the consistent urge to replace things. By doing so, we can focus on the more important aspects of life, just like Forrest, who was able to concentrate on his son because he didn't need additional material possessions. And in essence, practical, frugal wealth can help you declutter your life and focus on what really matters, without consistent distractions or material possessions. The fifth reason is the most significant reason is that it leads to a happier life. As discussed earlier in the video, if you adhere to these principles of slow and steady wealth building, you'll eventually reach your financial goals by establishing a strong career, managing expenses, accumulating capital, and investing for the long haul. Many of you will become millionaires someday. However, once you attain financial independence, you may wonder what comes next if you have not taken the time to identify your ideal lifestyle along the way. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "Life is a journey, not a destination." Similarly, the pursuit of financial independence and wealth is a journey rather than a destination. In 1938, Harvard conducted one of the most extended studies ever conducted, tracking 268 Harvard students for 80 years to determine the critical components of a happy and healthy life. The study found the close relationships rather than money or fame, and they are what kept people happy throughout their lives. Living below your means eliminates many distractions in our lives, allowing us to focus on what's important and prioritize relationships that bring us lasting joy and happiness.